The main point of this video is to try and explain the Friday the 13th franchise as best as I can. Now, I understand many of you might have a bit of trouble when it comes to understanding what I'm saying, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link down below to the very website you can read this information on. The information is pulled from a fandom wiki page, and honestly, it's one of the best things in the world. The amount of movies they cover is actually kind of unbelievable. So anyone who has trouble listening to me, or you just don't want to, I'll leave the link right down below and you can go check that out. So I hope I explained things a little bit for you and it's a bit easier to follow the movie's timeline after watching the video. Anyway, let's get right into it. "1930, Pamela Sue Voorhees is born.
Oh my Lord. So young. So pretty. Oh, what monster could have done this?
1935, the Christie family establishes Camp Crystal Lake. 1941, September, Freddy Krueger is born to Amanda Krueger.
Going to have to turn it around. Take a deep breath. I'm going to need you to push. Now. Push! Push! Push!
1946, Thursday, June 13th, Jason Voorhees is born to Pamela and Elias Voorhees. Elias either gets killed by his wife if he's abusive to his family as in the comics, or abandons his wife and son if he's not abusive to his family as in the comics. Pamela raises her son apart from the other children in the Voorhees house. The summer of 1957, Pamela receives a job as a cook in Camp Crystal Lake. Friday, September 13th, while there, 11-year-old Jason accidentally drowns in the lake after being bullied by most of the other campers. While this was happening, none of the counselors were paying any attention, instead having sex and talking, not paying attention to Jason getting bullied or drowning. Afterwards, no body is found, and it's assumed that Jason had drowned. 1958, Friday, June 13, Pamela, driven mad with grief over her son's death, kills 2 counselors at Camp Crystal Lake, and the killer is never apprehended, and the camp is soon shut down. Several attempts were made to reopen Camp Crystal Lake in the years to come, but are soon halted by mysterious fires. "1959, Alice Hardy is born somewhere in California to Mrs. Hardy and Mr. Hardy. 1960, Deanna Voorhees is born to Elias Voorhees and a woman who is not Pamela. 1962, an attempt to reopen Camp Crystal Lake is halted by a case of poisoned water. The camp comes to be regarded by locals as having a death curse and is nicknamed Camp Blood. 1965, Chris Higgins is born. 1968, Trish Jarvis is born. 1972, Tommy Jarvis is born. 1979, Friday the 13th. Steve Christie, determined to reopen Camp Crystal Lake, begins to spend $25,000 to renovate the abandoned camp. And Friday, June 13th, Pamela Voorhees goes on a killing spree at Camp Crystal Lake, trying to stop the camp from being reopened. She kills Steve Christie and 6 of his newly hired counsellors. Finally, the mad woman is decapitated with a machete by the only surviving counsellor, Alice Hardy. Jason Voorhees, having either returned from the dead or never actually drowned, witnesses his mother's death and takes her head and several articles of clothing, as well as the machete that killed her. Possibly not in the original continuity, after Pamela's death, Jason also retrieves her locket, containing a picture of himself and his mother. Saturday, June 14th, Alice is found in a canoe, floating on the lake, claiming that she was attacked by an 11-year-old Jason Voorhees, and according to the officer who questions Alice in the hospital, she is pulled from the lake by 2 officers and thought to be dead. Sometime after Pamela's killing spree, Camp Crystal Lake is condemned, fenced off and forbidden by law for anyone to enter. August. Alice is released from the sanitarium, and against her parents' wishes, Alice returns to the town of Crystal Lake to conquer her fears surrounding the events that transpired 2 months previously. One night, Jason Voorhees enters the apartment where she is staying and murders her. He takes her body and takes it to his shack in the woods near Camp Crystal Lake. Note, the dates in the movie are from the year 1980, when the movie was released, not 1979 when the movie takes place. June 13th, 1979 was a Wednesday, and June 14th, 1979 was a Thursday. And in 1979, the months with the 13th and a Friday were actually in April and July. So the 2 most likely explanations are that either the original film actually takes place in April or July instead of June, or the franchise takes place in a universe where the calendar is slightly different to ours. However, since the dates in most other films match our calendar, it's more likely that the events of the first film take place in July, and it wouldn't be April because the school year hadn't ended yet, so summer camp wouldn't even be open. (1980) Tina Shepard is born. While staying at her family's summer house, Higgins Haven, the 17-year-old Chris Higgins, gets in a fight with her parents and runs into the woods. There she's attacked by Jason Voorhees. Chris then passes out and awakens back at home. Her parents refuse to speak of the incident. Friday the 13th, Part 2. Paul Holt's counselor training program at Padalecki Lodge is opened, and Jason Voorhees, wearing a burlap sack to cover his face, kills local doomslayer Ralph. Friday, July 13th. Enraged that the Camp Crystal Lake area is being intruded upon, Jason kills 6 of the counselors in training, a local police officer, and the dog of one of the counselors. Eventually, Jason is faced by Ginny Field and Paul Holt, and Ginny discovers Jason's shack and manages to slice his left shoulder open with the same machete that killed Pamela Voorhees, and stops Paul from being attacked by Jason. Ginny and Paul arrive at one of the cabins to rest. Thinking that they have killed Jason, Ginny falls asleep and has a nightmare that Jason attacks her once more, and on Saturday, July 14th, the police arrive at Padalecki Lodge. Ginny is rescued, but Paul's fate isn't exactly known. However, it's most likely he was brought into another ambulance heading towards the same hospital the bodies and Ginny were heading to. Presumably, around this time, Rob Deere learns of his sister Sandra's death at the hands of Jason and vows to avenge her. Friday the 13th, Part 3. That night, Jason gets a new set of clothes from the laundry line of Harold Hockett and then proceeds to murder Harold and his wife. Jason spends the night at Higgins Haven. Sunday, July 15th. 19-year-old Chris Higgins and 5 of her friends go on a weekend trip to Higgins Haven, picking up Shelley Finkelstein's blind date Vera Sanchez on the way. Upon their arrival, Jason kills the vacationers one by one, as well as Chris's boyfriend Rick, and 3 members of a motorcycle gang. During the massacre, Jason obtains a hockey mask from Shelley, which he uses to replace his sack as a mask. After a lengthy confrontation with Chris, who recognizes Jason as the person who terrorized her in the woods 2 years previously, the girl axes the madman in the face, seemingly killing him. And on Monday, July 16th, the police find Chris in an unbalanced state, hysterically talking of a lady in the lake, Pamela Voorhees, having attacked her. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. That night, the bodies of Jason and 10 victims at Higgins Haven are transported to Wessex County Morgue. There, Jason revives himself and kills a coroner and a nurse and hides their bodies before making his own escape. Tuesday, July 17th. A group of 6 vacationing teenagers arrive at the cottage next door to that of the Jarvis family, where Mrs. Jarvis and her children Trish and 12-year-old Tommy Jarvis are currently residing. Jason kills a stranded hitchhiker on his way back to Camp Crystal Lake. Wednesday, July 18th. Rob Deere arrives at Camp Crystal Lake, determined to hunt down Jason. The murderer kills the vacationing teenagers as well as Mrs. Jarvis, Rob, and a set of teenage twins. Trish and Tommy fight for their lives until Tommy impales Jason's head on his own machete. Seeing that Jason is still demonstrating signs of life, Tommy stabs the killer over and over and over, screaming endlessly. That's pretty cool. Jason Voorhees, finally dead, is buried in the Eternal Peace Cemetery, although officials of nearby towns are led to believe his body was cremated. Tommy, heavily traumatized by his experience, spends the next 4 to 5 years being transferred from one mental institution to the next. Note, the dates in the films 2 to 4 are correct and match the calendar, probably disproving the theory about the alternate universe. Wanting to distance itself from the Voorhees murders, officials changed the name of the town and lake from Crystal Lake to Forest Green. Friday the 13th, a new beginning. October, the 17-year-old Tommy Jarvis, no longer a legal ward of the state, is sent from Unger Institute of Mental Health to Pinehurst Halfway House. That day, Victor J. Faden axes a fellow patient Joey to death. Paramedic Roy Burns, Joey's father, is horrified at the sight of Joey's body and swears revenge on the residents of the halfway house. That night, Roy disguises himself as Jason Voorhees and kills 2 greasers. The following night, Roy kills an ambulance driver and his girlfriend. His victims include the head doctor, the cook, 5 of Pinehurst's teenage patients, neighbours Ethel and Junior Hubbard, a drifter, the cook's elder grandson and his girlfriend and his own partner. Roy's rampage is finally halted by Pam Roberts, Reggie and Tommy. Roy is impaled on a set of tractor harrows in the halfway house barn. Even further unsettled, Tommy attacks Pam but is subdued. Note, October 13th, 1989 was a Thursday, and the only Friday the 13th in 1989 was in May. Friday the 13th, Part 5, Jason Lives. No, Part 6. VI is 6, right? Yeah, I think so. Cool. VI is 6. Okay, Thursday, July 12th. Tommy Jarvis and his friend Alan Hawes go to the Eternal Peace Cemetery to dig up and destroy Jason Voorhees' body. Upon seeing Jason's body, Tommy has an audio flashback and repeatedly stabs Jason's corpse. However, things go awry. What's that word? Awry. Okay, so according to Google, array means away from the usual or expected course, so amiss. Out of the normal or correct position, askew. So, yeah, that's that's what that means.
When a lightning bolt strikes the fence and reanimates Jason, increasing his strength and essentially making him indestructible. Jason kills Hawes and, wearing a new hockey mask constructed by Tommy, sets out for the Camp Crystal Lake, now reopened as Camp Forest Green. Tommy makes it to the police station and is locked up by Sheriff Michael Garris, who deems the boy crazy. En route to the camp, Jason kills the head counselors. So from this, we kind of get the idea that, you know, if Tommy Jarvis didn't go and try stab Jason for no reason, this never would have happened, which makes no sense realistically because Jason was dead. You know, he was kind of buried, so why would you continue to stab a dead person? You know, you brought someone back to life for pretty much no reason, so...
Good job, Tommy.
I'm stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. You're the best, I'm the worst. You're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
Well, thank you.
Friday, July 13th, Jason goes on the killing spree at Camp Forest Green, claiming the lives of 5 executives playing a paintball game. The cemetery caretaker, a young couple, and 3 of the remaining camp counselors, a teenage girl, Sheriff Garris, and 2 of his police officers. Tommy and Megan Jarvis eventually managed to chain Jason to a large rock at the bottom of Lake Forest Green. October 13th. While staying with her parents at Crystal Lake, 10-year-old Tina Shepard's telekinetic powers manifest for the first time, while also causing the death of her own father, John Shepard. Afterward, Tina spends the next few years being treated at a mental hospital. Sometime after the Forest Green murders, officials decide to change the area back to Crystal Lake, and then Camp Crystal Lake signs are restored. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I know this is kind of an explanation to the franchise, but this movie really always kind of got on my nerves. I don't know what it is, but I can't watch movies with like telekinetic powers, because it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how that's possible at all. But then again, it's really kind of impossible for Jason to live for so long too, so I guess it doesn't make too much sense in that idea, you know? Anyway, 13-year-old Rennie Wickham visits Crystal Lake and nearly drowns when she is pushed into the lake by her uncle, who is trying to teach her how to swim. While underwater, she is attacked by Jason, and due to her empathetic abilities, she sees him as a child, and after barely escaping Jason's grasp, she is left haunted by her encounter with him, becoming aquaphobic. I almost couldn't read that one out there. Becoming aquaphobic. Friday the 13th, part 5. Not part 5, I've done it again. Friday the 13th, part VII, which is, if I believe, 7. So, part 7, The New Blood. Friday, June 13th, Tina Shepard, now 17, returns to Crystal Lake with her mother Amanda and her therapist Dr. Cruz. Tina becomes acquainted with the teenagers staying at the house next door. Preparing a surprise party for Michael, one of their friends, later that night, Tina tries to resurrect her father John with her powers, but instead frees the dormant Jason Voorhees. Tina passes out and is spared by Jason. But he does kill Michael, his girlfriend, and a camping couple. The next day, Jason kills 9 of the teenagers staying at the party cottage, as well as Amanda and Dr. Cruz. A distraught Tina uses her telekinesis to fight Jason, destroying the 2 houses while doing so. Finally, Tina reanimates her father's corpse to chain Jason back up to the bottom of the lake and collapses the dock on top of him. Following day, the police rescue Tina and Nick. Jason's hockey mask is also found, having been broken in half during his fight with Tina. Friday the 13th, Jason takes Manhattan. The night before the senior class of Lakeview High School is scheduled to depart for New York City, 2 of the students, Jim Miller and Susie Donaldson, arrive at Crystal Lake. The anchor of their boat catches onto an underwater power line and electrifies Jason Voorhees back to life. He kills the 2 students and sails their boat back to the harbour. The next day, Jason reaches the cruise ship SS Lazarus just before it departs for New York. One of the passengers, 18-year-old Rennie Wickham, is plagued by visions of a child Jason. The undead madman kills 6 of the students and 3 of the crew. Rennie, her classmates, and Sean Robertson, Julius Gaw, her teacher Colleen Van Dusen, her uncle Charles her uncle Charles Mikuloch, and her dog Toby managed to flee the ship on the lifeboat. Oh my god, I've been reading this script too long. But the rest of the students drown as the ship sinks, and Jason swims after the survivors in secret. Oh, hold on, I need to take a bit of a break before I continue with this. Okay. That night, Rennie and company end up in New York, and Jason pursues them and kills Julius, Mikuloch, and 5 other New York City residents. Colleen is also killed in a car accident. Rennie and Sean are chased into the sewers and barely escape, while Jason is washed away by a flood of toxic waste. Although Rennie hallucinates that he changes into a normal child. As a new day dawns, Rennie and Sean and Toby go to explore New York. After the Manhattan murders, the FBI realizes that Jason Voorhees is a real threat and begins to track him down. They eventually locate him back to Crystal Lake. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. But don't be mistaken, because it isn't actually the final Friday. Believe it or not, the title is kind of lying to you in this one. Thursday, June 12th. FBI agent Elizabeth Marcus lures Jason Voorhees to a trap in which he is shot repeatedly and blown to pieces. Prior to the movie's events, Stephanie Kimball is born to Jessica Kimball and Stephen Freeman. Bounty hunter Creighton Duke makes an appearance on American Case File concerning the death of Jason Voorhees. But after being brought to the Youngstown Federal Morgue, Jason's spirit possesses Phil and makes him eat his own heart. Phil/Jason makes his way back to Crystal Lake after his escape from the morgue. Phil/Jason kills 3 young adults fooling around the Camp Crystal Lake, and he then kidnaps and possesses Josh after killing his girlfriend. Josh/Jason goes to the apartment of the half-sister Diana Voorhees Kimball and kills her, but is prevented from possessing her body and being reborn by Stephen Freeman. Jason transfers his soul from Josh to news reporter Robert Campbell. I know it's getting kind of confusing for everyone to stay on track with, but trust me, we're almost at the end of it. Friday, June 13th. Robert/Jason goes after Jessica Kimball and her infant daughter Stephanie. Still trying to be reborn, along the way, Robert/Jason kills 3 police officers, the family owning the local diner, and a waitress. Jason's soul is then transferred to Randy Parker, who gets his throat cut by Stephen. Jason's heart crawls into Diana's dead body and he is finally reborn. After killing Creighton Duke, Jason is stabbed in the heart with a mystical dagger by Jessica and sent to hell. His hockey mask still remained, but Freddy Krueger reached out of the ground and pulled his mask into hell. and then this takes us to Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy Krueger resurrects Jason Voorhees and sends him to Springwood to kill some of the teenagers and regenerate enough fear to allow Freddy to return. And on Sunday, September 14th, the night Jason arrives in Springwood, he kills 2 boys and one of their fathers. Jason now has enough power to return, due to the fear caused by the 3 deaths. Meanwhile, Will and Mark have escaped from Weston Hills. Will's girlfriend, Laurie Campbell, and her friends begin to understand what's going on, and their newfound knowledge of Krueger makes them vulnerable. At a rave that night, Freddy enters the dreams of Laurie's friend, Gib, but is enraged when Jason steals his victim, killing Gib and another raver in the real world before Freddy can kill her in her dream. Jason then goes on a rampage, killing at least 8 more ravers, and the survivors of the rave include Laurie, Will, Kaya Watterson, Charlie Linderman, and Bill Freeberg. Later, Freddy kills Mark when he falls asleep at his old house. The rave survivors and Scott Stubbs decide to go to Weston Hills and get some hypnosal dream suppressant to be safe from Jason. Jason follows him there and kills Stubbs, Freeberg, and a security guard before Freddy brings him into the dream world, where he figures out he's been fooled. Laurie, Will, Kaya, and Linderman begin to transport Jason's comatose body to Crystal Lake. As Freddy discovers Jason's deep-seated fear of water, which is not usually present in the real world, Laurie falls asleep and enters Jason's dream, which involves his childhood drowning. Laurie manages to wake Jason up and drag Freddy into the real world. And after killing Linderman and Kia, Jason turns his attention to Freddy, and an epic battle begins.
This is my fight song, take back my life song, prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on, stand right now, I'll be strong, I'll play my fight song, 'cause nobody else believes. 'Cause I still have a lot of fight left in me. Oh, there we go. Thanks very much, everybody.
The fight concludes with Jason's battered body falling into Crystal Lake and Laurie decapitating Freddy with Jason's machete. Jason emerges from the lake, clutching Freddy's still animated head. (2008). Jason Voorhees is captured by Camp Crystal Lake Research Facility and convicted of at least 200 murders. When all attempts to execute him fail, he is left sedated, placed under heavy guard and left shackled in the facility, while researchers try to think of what to do with him. (2009). The Reboot. The following sequence of events is perhaps not in the main continuity of the original 11 Friday the 13th films. May 2nd. A group of young adults, Whitley Miller, Mike, Wade, Amanda, and Richie, enter the Crystal Lake region looking for a marijuana site in the woods, and Jason, wearing a clotted bag over his head, attacks the intruders and kills all of them except Whitney, whom he drags into his underground tunnels running beneath the campgrounds and the Voorhees house. Shortly afterwards, Whitney's mother dies and her brother Clay begins to look for her.
I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing about a month and a half ago.
Huh? My parents' cabin is stocked. You think you're actually gonna get laid?
Oh, look, your parents do not have combos or Funyuns, and they definitely don't have Fritos, and this is not for sex.
What are you gonna use them for?
It's an experiment.
Friday, June 13th. Clay Miller arrives in Crystal Lake looking for Whitney. Meanwhile, another group of teens, Jenna, Trent Sutton, Chewie Lawrence, Chelsea, Nolan, and Bree, arrive at Trent's family cabin on the lake shore. Jason kills a local and dons the latter hockey mask. He then murders most of the partying teens and a police officer as Clay and Jenna hunt for Whitney. Whitney is rescued and Jenna is also killed as the Miller siblings flee from Jason. Whitney succeeds in stabbing Jason in the chest with his machete, and Saturday, June 14th, Jason rises from the lake to attack Whitney. Note, these dates do not match the real calendar. June 13th, 2009 was a Saturday and June 14th, 2009 was a Sunday. There are 3 possibilities. The film actually takes place in 2008, a year which had June 13th on a Friday, or number 2, the June part of the film actually takes place in February, March or November of 2009, all of which had 13th on a Friday, and the May part of the film actually takes place 1 month earlier in January, February or October. Or number 3, the film and possibly the entire franchise takes place in a universe where the calendar is slightly different from ours. It's most likely that the film actually takes place either in 2008 or in January to February or February to March or October to November of 2008, since every film except for the original and the reboot have dates that match our calendar. The reboot timeline events end here. 2010. Friday, August 13th, it is decided that Jason Voorhees should be cryogenically frozen and moved to another facility for further examination. Due to a guard throwing a blanket over Jason, his IV is knocked loose, allowing him to escape and kill Dr. Wimmer, who decided to supersede freezing Jason and transport him soft, and the 5 soldiers meant to move him. While chasing head researcher Rowan Lofotain through the facility, Jason is knocked into a cryogenic chamber by the scientist, who is also frozen when Jason punctures the unit's door and stabs her, causing the facility to lock down. 2455. Wow, that's actually really weird saying that. But that is the year that Jason X takes place. Friday, August 13th, a class from Earth 2, headed by Braithwaite Lowe, go on a field trip to the original Earth, which had become uninhabitable. Uninhabitable, that's it. It becomes uninhabitable. Damn it. Centuries prior. Discovering the remains of Camp Crystal Lake Research Facility, the students find Jason Voorhees and Rowan Lofotain and bring them on board their ship, the Grendel, where Rowan is revived while Jason awakens on his own, killing several students, crew members and hired security. Jason is briefly killed by an android, KEM-14, but is resurrected by the Grendel's malfunctioning nanobots, which also gives him a metallic exoskeleton and upgraded abilities. As the Grendel begins falling apart due to accidentally crashing into the Solaris space station, Ronan, Tissaran and KM reach a rescue vessel, the Tiamat, while Sergeant Brodsky stays behind, sacrificing himself to stop Uber Jason from attacking the Tiamat. A power armor wearing Brodsky tackles Uber Jason outside the Tiamat. Whew, that's fucking hard to say. Sending the two of them hurtling through Earth to Earth 2's atmosphere, and Uber Jason's charred mask lands in a lake. Okay, I'm gonna read that one again for anyone who might have missed it. That was weird saying that one. Okay, hell, where do I start? A power armor wearing Brodsky tackles Uber Jason outside the Tiamat, sending the two of them hurtling through Earth 2's atmosphere, and Uber Jason's charred mask lands in a lake. Okay, so that pretty much wraps that up. This has been one long ass explanation, and if I'm going to be completely honest with any of you right now, I am still super confused. I don't know if this video really covers everything you need to know, but if you know a little bit about the franchise, then you probably know a lot of this already. But this video was made entirely for the people who haven't seen it and have no intention of seeing it. I don't know why there's people like you out there, to be honest, because you're missing out on so much. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, comment and tell me what you think of it. And if you want me to do any other franchises like this one, I intend to do it with a lot of them. I actually want to do Wrong Turn and The Hills of Eyes. Really want to do those two franchises. They're really fucking, they're great. Hills of Eyes, there's less of them, but Wrong Turn, there's a good few of those, and I definitely intend to make those videos. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like rating on it if you could. It would really help with pushing the video out to more people. If you don't like the video, understandable, fair enough, I get it. Have a good day. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody.